Hey, everybody. How are you? It's your boy from Brooklyn, Chef Shannon Ambrosio. Just saying, are you guys really comfortable with another Everything and Nothing podcast? I hope so. And I hope this is working. Again, you know me. It's almost like every time this happens, I'm always thinking about what the heck did I forget and how is this thing going to work out? That's always the lesson for me, right? Because the time that I spend to work on everything is just enormous. And I don't even understand. Hey, what's up, Thomas? How are you? Happy Sunday, dude. Happy Sunday. I can't say thank you enough for always showing up, Thomas. I really appreciate you. I really do. And it's my bad that I haven't sent that out yet. Your boy has got scrambled eggs in the brain sometimes. How crazy is that? That the brain feels like, yo, did you see the Bart Simpson thing? Come on. Look, that's so cool right there. Well, you can't see Bart. But that's what's going on. Let me check to see how this is working out. And we'll figure it out as we go along. And that's that. That's the truth right there. You know, says this Bob that gets all the commercials, right? So how you spend your time is amazing, right? And that's what today, right? That's what I'd like to talk about today on the podcast. It's been kind of sitting in my head for a while about this whole idea about time and what time means and what time is worth and how we figure how we spend our time and where we spend our time and whom and all those other things that have to go on with spending time somewhere doing something, right? Such as this, such as my podcast, the live stream that I do every Sunday. And it's crazy because I'd like to think that we spend our time where we'd like to see things happen, right? Or do certain things, or be with certain people, or whatever it may be. But time that we spend, this time, and this time here that you guys are here with me, that time means a lot to me, right? So, and if you're here, right, like Thomas, you know, I'm solo dolo today with Thomas. So it's just me and Thomas so far today. We'll see if anybody else shows up. But who knows, right? Who knows where time goes and where we spend it? And when I think of time, for me, it means a couple of things, right? Working 60 plus hours a week, my at-home time is very precious. Yes, and I agree with that, right? I agree with the time and the time spent and how my reference for time today is, right? And you'll see it's in the title, right? So it's how do you spend your time? And is where you're spending your time, happy Sunday, Sandra, how are you? And is it where you're spending your time worth it? Is where you're spending your time doing whatever it is that you're doing, is it worth it? Is it worth whatever your time has a value of? And I know that there's a lot of things that have value to us. And the problem is that most of the time, the things that we value are not our time or not someone else's time. It seems to me that most of the things that we're valuing are monetary things, right? So the intrinsic value of something tangible is where we seem to be using our time or where our time is spent in a value of what time is worth. So when we think about the time we spend doing things that we want to do, what is that worth to you? Does that have a money value for you? Do you think of those things as, well, if I'm doing this one thing and spending my time doing that, is it worth it for me to do it? Or is it not? I mean, that's something we all have to struggle with every day, right? Because here's the ideal, right? The ideal is that we get to do whatever we want to do whenever we want to do it, right? Whatever the time may be, whatever the time of the day or night, and so on and so forth, whatever the parameters may be within the time that you use as a constraint to do certain things, right? But think of it this way, as far as time is, right? We as human beings, we decided to record whatever time may be, right? So whatever day is and whatever night is, right? So us as human beings, we decided to create this thing called time, right? And we gave it a certain length, right? Whether it's daytime and when it's nighttime, right? How long the night lasts, how long the day lasts, and how we spend our time doing those things, right? How crazy would it have been if it was the opposite? What if we, like nocturnal animals, what if we only spent the time doing the things we want to do, and what if they were only at night? What if it wasn't during the day? What if it was just that we spent our days kind of maybe sleeping at this point and then spent our nights, right? If anybody works night shifts out there, you know what it's like. And I've done it for I couldn't even tell you. I've worked days. So I've worked times where I've worked around the clock, days, when I used to have a day. Yo, Jimmy Daly's with us. Yo, what up, Jimbo? My boy, Jimmy. Miss you, brother. Miss you, brother. You have no idea, man. Mia's with us. How are you, Mia? Make the most of your time. Yes, right there. Jimmy in the house. Jimmy on the house? Yo, Jimmy, you on the house again? Yo, don't tell me you back in the doghouse. Yo, you can't be in the doghouse that many days. You got to slow that one down right there. But anyway, thinking about how we spend our time, right? And Jimmy knows because we've worked together. So the idea is that we spend the amount of hours, right, where they say it's work time, right? Who created this? Who created the idea of time? Did we give somebody else this task of allotting us a certain amount of time that we have to do certain things, right? Is it good? Thank you, Shannon. You're welcome very much, Mia. But the idea is that who dictated this to us? Did they just decide, hey, this is going to be daytime, and everybody, all you human beings out there, whoever came up with this idea of recording whatever time may be, they decided, you're going to, whatever it is, you're going to do a task during the day, and that's going to be work, and that's going to be a job. And then at night, you'll get to maybe decide what you want to do for yourself. And I say, well, man, how crazy is that? How difficult is it for me at this point to understand that somebody somewhere, and I don't know who, and I'm going to have to do some research on this, is that they decided that during the day, you're going to go and work and perform a task of some kind that's going to basically allot you to do something else that maybe you don't have to do the thing that you're doing to earn a living. And I say, when did we relinquish, or in the title, when did we subjugate? What a great word. When did we subjugate that governments and other people decide when it is we work and when and how we spend our time? That to me is the most unfortunate thing about time, is that somebody somewhere decided that they were going to create a time scale for us as human beings. So they gave us years, days, months, hours, minutes, seconds. And they gave us all. They didn't give us anything. They told us. They told us exactly what time was going to be and exactly how we are supposed to spend our time. And to me, that's a subjugation. It's a subjugation. We allowed these things to happen. We allowed them to decide and to dictate how and when we can spend our time. And to me, that's a horrible, horrible way to be. It's the idea that we think in our minds that we make these decisions on how to spend our time. When in actuality, and the reality of it across the globe, is that we don't decide those things. We didn't, and we do not do it. And that to me is a big, big issue with time spent doing things that we want to do and doing things that we need to do. And we all know that's the case of it, right? Because there are things that we need to do on a daily basis, right? Correct. We need to be up, awake, eyes open, and breathing the air in order to live. Drinking some fluids of some kind, and maybe eating whatever food it is you decide you want to eat. But how you decide to spend your time, I think, for me as a whole, is that time needs to be decided by the person who gets to spend it. And that's you and me, and how we decide to spend. How are you, Madam Soulful? Good to see you. And how we decide to spend our time. I think it should belong to us as people, as when we decide it, right? Whether it be nighttime, whether it be daytime. Whether you choose to work or play at night, or work or play during the day. I still think those things need to be left to the individual. Because if we are allowing governments, other people, I don't know, relationships, I don't know, friendships, I don't know. If we're allowing other people to decide how and when and where we spend our time, where is the true freedom of time? Where is the idea that our time belongs to us? Where did it begin? Then where did it end? Is it ours? Is it ours to spend? I don't know. I get kind of fixated on these things that if we're not the ones deciding these things, who is? Who's deciding these things? And I have a hard time understanding that we didn't decide to do these things for whatever crazy reason that may be. It's another one of those crazy theories I have in my head, is that the time was considered that, they gave us something. Again, allowing other people or other things or other entities deciding when and how we do the things we do. And I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if it makes enough sense for me on a scale where these things are not real anymore. If they're real, then how could time have been created? And then if time cannot be, let's say, how could time cannot have a constraint? If that makes sense to you out there, time to me cannot have a constraint, because if they decided that there's only 24 hours in a day, well, actually 12 hours during the day and then maybe 12 hours at night. That's literally how they broke up this timetable thing that they gave us. And then they gave us the days and months and then years. But wait, they're always changing this on us constantly, right? And I know that the idea of time doesn't mean that much. It doesn't fluctuate for anybody, right? Time is what we call time. Time is what it is. It's linear, and it's linear because the idea is that it's constantly moving. It doesn't stop. It doesn't go backwards. It can only go forward. And the idea that they put a constraint on it, right, is that they decided that there was only 24 of those things they call hours in a day and night, the combination of thereof, or a facsimile thereof, or both, right? And who is it that gave these people this decision to make, right? Do we travel by time? We travel through time constantly, right? Today is today, and then tomorrow will be tomorrow, right? And when people say they can't see the future, and I say, well, yes, you can. Because the idea of tomorrow, if you get to see it, becomes a new time. It becomes more time, if that makes sense, right? So I like the idea of all those things happening in succession, so that my time, I get to spend it the way I want. And your time, you should spend it the way you want. And wait, if you're spending your time with me here on Sundays on my podcast, thank you. I mean, truly, thank you. That's what it is. So you have to decide to do those things constantly. Constantly be thinking about the time that you spend and how you spend it is so important. It doesn't have to be, I don't think it needs to be as scheduled as a lot of people think. I don't think the idea of getting up, at a certain time every day and doing certain things in a certain way every day, I don't consider it a bad thing, and I don't consider it the greatest of all things. I just consider it a way to spend time. But for me, the money value or the monetary value on time, I don't think it exists like it used to. It used to exist where, oh my goodness, when I was younger, it was like, I have nothing but time. Oh, you think so? I have nothing but time. So I can get to the next thing when I'm ready to get to it, right? And as you get more seasoned, and I won't say old, so as you get more seasoned and more, I guess, acclimated with the way your time value and what the time value means to you as an individual, I think those are the things that we tend to think about a lot more, because we realize at some point, and to all you young folks out there, I know you're probably not watching, you ain't watching, you can't relate to what older folks or seasoned people are talking about, because the idea of time is not, it's not as, you're not as cognizant of it as I think as more seasoned people are, right? As you go further in time, because literally that's what it is, since we gave it a name. As you go further in time, these things mean more to you. The value of where you spend it is so much more, how do I say? And I don't want to say it's worth more, because it's really not, right? My time is not worth any more because I have more years on this planet than somebody who's younger, right? My time value is not worth any more nor any less because of how many years or how much time I've spent alive already, you know? So I think about these things a lot, and the time that we spend and how we spend it, where we spend it, and who we spend it with. That means a lot, and it means a lot to a lot of people. We all know that, right? Yes, I agree. And how we do those things, it has to be a decision that we make. It has to be a decision that we make for us. And it doesn't necessarily need to be explained, but it needs to be understood so that, you know, we don't devalue or should I say overvalue the idea of what we think it's worth, because time is not biased, nor is it prejudice in any way, shape, or form. It does not really care about what you believe in or who you believe in or how you believe in. It just moves, and it moves forward constantly. It does not think about all the questions, answers, actions, reactions. It just moves. And that's why I say a lot of times, people always ask, oh, how do you get all those things done? I go, listen, I just keep moving. I don't think about time in the relevance and the sense of, I think a lot of people do, is that, yes, I wear a watch. No two ways about it. Because there is a time frame in which I think personally things can be taken care of. Should they be taken care of that way? I don't know. I don't know how everybody feels about how they spend their time. I can only tell you how I feel about how I spend my time and where I spend my time. I don't like to think of it as a devaluation or an evaluation of what I do with it, right? I don't know how interested I am in what people think about how I spend my time. Or I'm not that interested in, maybe a little bit, in certain ways that people spend their time. Because who am I to say it's right or wrong or indifferent? It's just what you choose. It's how you choose to spend your time. It's a valuable thing. I think it's a lot more valuable than I think a lot of people want to think about. Right? Because like I said before, when I was younger, I didn't think about time in the same way, because the sense of time wasn't the most important thing, right? I think the most important thing was what I was doing, right? With my time. And it didn't even necessarily had to be everybody and everything that was happening around me at the time I was doing it. It just happened to be that time was spent doing that. And I love that idea of the lesson, right? Because when I think about things in my past and there's a reflection of things in my past, I don't know about the time that I spent because I don't have the recollection of how far back it was. To be honest, we can pick a time period in our lives and we can think about a lot of things that may have happened. But It only takes that one little bit of something to have changed somewhere along that line, that timeline. And everything up till today would have been different. It would have changed. And maybe this wouldn't be happening. Maybe if that one person that decided to create this that we do here, maybe the timing wasn't right. Maybe this wouldn't be what was happening right now. But it is. So that the time that that person or people, how many it may be, decided to create this idea of this interaction, that time was spent. Was it well spent? For some people, maybe yes. For some people, maybe no, right? Because the idea of how we think about these things in technology and what we do on a regular basis with these things, everybody feels different about it. Some people accept it. Some people don't like it. Some people are kind of indifferent about it. And some people applaud it. So that time that was spent to create this, that does this, is just a piece of time. That's all it is. Ah, my goodness. I just can't help but think about time more now than ever. In these times, when people have a tendency to look around for other people to give them the time that they think they need to do the things that they want to do, I say it's not time. It's not that time. It's the time that you have that counts. It's what you do with your time that means something to you that has to count, not anybody else, right? So when I think about people and I talk openly, so the idea is how you spend your time. When I hear somebody say, I have to, this is something I have to do. And I say, well, it needs to be something you want to do because that time is yours. It doesn't have to be anything. It just has to be. So time just has to be. So if you choose to get up every day at a certain time and you go to a job and you work, you chose that. You chose to spend your time there. And I know here comes the questions in the comments, right? So I'm going to run through the gamut, folks. This is the way it works. It's your boy from Brooklyn, Chef Shannon Ambrosio. And this is the Everything and Nothing podcast. And I hope you subscribe to this channel. I mean, it's your time. Subscribe if you want to. And if you subscribe, please do yourself a favor and ring that bell. Get your bell rung so you are notified every time I put a video up on Everything and Nothing podcast. I appreciate that. Just ring the bell. You see how many times you get to ring that bell? And you know where to find me. I'm on all these social medias. It's down there in the comments below. It's down there in the description below, actually. And you can find me on all those social medias. Decide if you want to follow me or not. That's up to you. Again, your time. I'm not telling you how to spend it. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions and comments about this one. So please just leave them down there. Let's open up this discussion for everybody, because I know there's a lot of questions and comments out there about how and why and what I think about time and where it's spent. And it's the most valuable thing that we as individuals, I think it's the most valuable thing you can possess. And we all possess it, right? And I don't give a crap what your credit score is. We all have an amount of time, and it doesn't matter. It does not discriminate against any of those things that anybody want to categorize. And I don't care what it is. My time is the same time as anybody else that walks this planet. Anybody. And I mean that truly in my heart, right? Is that time is just, it's the highest commodity that we have, that we own as people, that nobody can take from us. Nobody can take our time. Only we can. We can decide how, when, and where we spend our time. That is the truest of all currencies that we have, right? So if you choose to go somewhere, that's your time spent. You're spending your time. So, I mean, choose your time and spend it wisely. It's important, right? And if you're enjoying this, please just hit that like button right now, right? There's about 7 of us in here hanging out, having a so-called good time. Here we go with the time again. So please just hit that like button right there. You know, it does help out, right? And that's part of this whole thing here is this, right? If you feel the need that you want to share our time here now with somebody, you can. You can share this to anybody you want. Maybe they have a little time that they'd like to spend with us or with me. Either way, it's a win-win. So I don't know. Just kind of, just put it in there if you can. It's not a crazy thing to think about. And I appreciate that, you know, and you know me, you know, I think about time and time spent. I think about it a lot. And I just want to say that, you know, we spend our time with places and people and doing things that we want to do, right? So if you feel you want to spend your time around some of the things that I do it. It's okay. And if you don't, that's okay too. I mean, I'm not here to say any different, all right? But when I hear people say, I don't have the time, or I have to do this, or I have to do that, and I say, no, you don't. You really don't. You really don't have to do any of those things that you think you have to do. It's not possible. It's not possible to have forced anything into anybody's timeline that they did not expect or want at any given time. It's not possible, right? So if you choose you want to spend your time somewhere, you spend it there. And if you don't, you don't. That's it. There's time to be spent somewhere else. And that's it. So being frustrated over something, is it time well spent? Being mad about something, is it time well spent? Doing certain things in certain ways, is it time well spent? And I say, if you decided to spend it, then it is. Then it's time well spent. So if you have that thought in your mind to spend your time doing something, it's going to be worth the value of your time. It just is. No matter what. No matter what anybody else says. No matter how anybody else feels about how you spend your time or doing the things that you think is worth your time. It does not matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter how they react to how you spend your time. You still get to keep moving. Keep moving. Because time, believe me, time is not going to wait for anyone. It will not at any time. And we can get the time jokes going on over here if we really wanted to. But you know who's getting the goat? You know who gets the goat today? Everybody out there thinking that they wasted their time. You didn't. You didn't waste any of your time. Ever. Doing any of those things that you did. You did it because you chose to spend your time there. And that is time well spent. And I don't know how I am on time here. Somebody hit me up. How long have we been on so far? What do we got so far in the minutes category? In the time category that's here. And that's what I should have did today. I should have had the time clock or the clicker up there. It probably would have been a little bit better to have had that up there so that we could have seen how much time we have spent together, right? And what the value of that means to you. You know, I had a question posed to me today. Okay? So they do this to me every time. Watch this. Let me show you how this works. And let me show you what technology does. Technology is a very funny thing. So when things want to work, they work. And they always work. But when technology decides that something's not going to work, it just doesn't work. And it doesn't matter how much time you spend trying to fix things. It'll decide for you where your time will be spent. So,
oh my God, who the hell cares?
I do. I care. I care. Believe me, I care. I care about the time I spend. I care about the time that things are I care about the time that we have to think about the time that we have. I care about that. I think that these things are worth thinking about, because if not, who's going to have the time? And here comes the time joke. Sorry.
Oh, hell no.
Yes. Yes. Hell yes. Hell yes. Hell yes. It's the truth.
My God, are you still talking?
Yes, I am. So I really do enjoy our time, and it means a lot. It really does mean a lot to me. And don't let anybody infringe on your time that you don't want to spend doing something. I know, here's my thing. Here's my heart, right? My 2 minutes. Here's my 2 minutes, right? So here's my 2-minute timer, okay? This is my egg timer. It's my 2-minute egg timer. And here's my rant. Here's my rant. For all you folks out there who tell me you have to go to work, or you have to take care of your kids, or you have to look out for your family, or you have to go see your friends, or you have to go to this party, or you have to. And I say, your time, spend it where you want to spend it. Don't make the decision because you think that's the time you have to spend. Make the decision because it's the time you want to spend. No matter how long, no matter how short, no matter any of those things. And when everybody adds a have to their time, and I say, you didn't have to. You didn't have to, but you chose to. So if you're choosing that you want to spend your time, make sure it's how you want to spend your time. Do not spend your time in order to complain about the time you spent, if that makes sense to you. That to me makes the most sense. Yes, we all have these things that we think we wasted our time on, but you did not. It's part of your timeline. It has to be part of your timeline, because if not, this wouldn't be what it is now. And if you didn't want it the way it is now, and this time that you have now isn't what you thought it was going to be, then you should have spent the time before thinking about the have-tos, because the have-tos are not have-tos. They're just your time. And you get to choose how and when you spend it. That right there is my 2-minute rant, folks. And I'm done. You know my message. And I'm going to have one little more anecdote for you before I am out of time. And that is, I was talking with somebody today, and we were talking and discussing about the amount of value on the time of the things that we do, that we think we do for a living, right? People tell us we got to spend our time earning something for some way, for somehow, for somebody else to make money, for somebody else to control the way we do things, right? And that's how I feel about the big brother, the big GOV here. And I don't care where it is, where it lands across this globe. I don't care if it's from here all the way to wherever. The idea that the time that we have, we gave up, we subjugated our time. We subjugated our time, okay? We all did. And anybody who thinks they didn't, you need to look around, because it's going to come to a point where subjugation is what it is, right? And when we think about it, they're telling us exactly how to spend our time on a daily basis, right? They're telling us, get up at some point, then go to work at some point, then earn something that they're calling a value for worth our time, okay? And then they're telling us to give it back to them. Our time. They're telling us that we spent our time and we gave it to them. And I don't think that's a good thing to be. And if you look around, it's happening a lot more now. They're telling you, shh, be quiet. Spend your time the way we tell you to spend it. Don't think for yourself anymore. We'll tell you when the time is right. But when is the time right? When is the time right that we finally decide that our time is us? The time that we have being on this planet and being alive for wherever the afterlife may be. Who knows if time exists there? But I tell you, they gave us this thing called time here. So you better decide how you want to spend it. And you better decide if the value of your time is what it's supposed to be. Because if you leave it up to somebody else, and I don't care who it is, they're going to devalue it, no matter what. And I say, subjugate. I know everybody's Googling that word right now. And you should. And you should Google that word. Because that word is a very strong word. Extremely strong. And when you look up the definition, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised of how much of that is really happening everywhere. No matter what. And I can't say thank you enough for coming by. And if you feel like you want to just listen to me and you're tired of staring at my mug, here's a good place to do it. So go over on any of these other platforms that are right here on this screen, and you could listen to the podcast. Maybe you don't want to stare at me for a while. I don't know. Again, your time. Spend it any way you want. But I think that's it for me, folks. You know how I feel. I feel that my time is well spent when I am in the company of great people. And you people are great. So keep your company and keep your time. It belongs to you. I'm out, folks. Love, peace, bacon grease. I'm out.